getting in there.
Just a face
Wait,
shot.
hold on. Yo! I can't think with sound. I'm a very
Silencio.
bad thinker. Can we be quiet for half a second? Sweetums, I love you. Okay. Wow, that actually worked. Because just the first line, you're like, it's suffering. I'm like, oh, Buddha.
Jesus Christ came to the world because of pain, and when there was suffering, we didn't have it because we didn't do the suffering with Jesus. And because we are Christians, we have to make sure that
Put that at the end.
Can you please put that as the first thing on the video? You didn't do the suffering?
like pause after every word.
Before Jesus, no one suffered. It was perfect, man.
You like pause after every
No one
word.
died.
I was actually hoping you guys would stop laughing so I could listen to what he was trying to say.
Oh, yeah, okay, like you wanted to hear. How about the Saints?
So, unanswered prayer, your thoughts?
Hey,
You do that every
Well, I
time.
know
Hey, Bruce Almighty.
Bruce
Hey.
Almighty. Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
Andrew is
Jennifer
speaking.
Happy days?
what?
What?
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce Almighty.
Alright, no, okay, seriously.
Under chaos.
I mean, I'm assuming everyone's seen Bruce Almighty, but it's kind
Almighty.
you haven't? So basically he's, put in the position of God, and naturally to human understanding, say yes to every prayer, because if you want it, you should get it. Whatever his thinking was. Or actually, I think it was just because it was easier and he didn't want to be bugged.
Yeah, it was
But-
all the prayers in his head.
Yeah. But
But yes.
basically, he says yes to every prayer in the world. Excuse my, the phrase, but goes to hell. Everyone gets all they want, and there's riots everywhere because everyone asked to win the lottery or something crazy.
Stock exchange.
I've never
prayed.
prayed to ask or to win the lottery. I don't know, but apparently everyone in that town did, and
Everyone, the stock exchange.
I was also gonna say, like, if people got everything they wanted, then we would have, there wouldn't be a lot that we could look to that's gonna separate what actually matters in life. If we, like, I'm sure God could arrange for everybody to win the lottery and it wouldn't be chaos because he's God. But what it gets down to, after that's over, after we have that money, are we really thinking that money is the meaning of life, or are we thinking God?
And it's more so like when you were really praying properly, it's like asking God to help us fit in the mold of his big picture of things, helping us to fit into his schemes so that, things will flow properly.
So help us accept his will.
Yeah.
I think also we view unanswered prayer as just something hasn't happened, but sometimes, I know it sounds painful, but God says no to things, and we may not understand why he says that to us. I feel like sometimes that's something we have to accept, is that the answer is sometimes going to be no.
I would say a reason for God saying no is it's going back to the conversation we had last week. If God said yes to everything that we asked for, it wouldn't really require much faith to be a Christian, would it? There wouldn't be, everyone would be like, oh, well, the Christians all have Lamborghinis, so I'm going to be a Christian. Yeah.
well,
Coca-Cola had
if-
something there, man.
if, just with the example of Christians all have Lamborghinis, if that's true, would the Christians be mature enough to know what to ask for? And so would it be as obvious? Because they wouldn't be asking for all these immature things. They'd be asking for God's will.
Don't ask God to make things easier for you. Ask God to make you stronger to face what is coming. Because it's like we've been saying, like you learn through those situations. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, well then you know
stop
what to
at
do
ends.
the next time it comes along. If we were just like, okay, God, give me a way out of this, then fine, you're out of it for now, but then what happens if someone who's been through a similar situation needs help?
Where's
You
the
don't know
growing?
how to solve it. You haven't grown in that area. So I think that once you've developed through that trial, not only can you help other people, but you become a stronger person if you come in contact with them again.
If a sunflower seed was like, when there's wind and rain, just get me out of this wind and rain.
Sunflower seed says
I
that.
actually wanted to be serious.
James
chapter 1, verse something or other. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. Those are the only verses of the Bible that I know.
That's the chapter.
It's not from John 3:16.
That's solid, though. That's solid.
Apart from Jesus wept, and he said. But
David wept.
so I think the whole aspect of not praying for suffering, but praying for the whole idea of strength and faith, like a foundation that is unwavering in times of trial.
So, it's easy to have faith whenever your life is going perfectly and you're receiving blessings from God and all of this, and you think that your life is exactly how it should be in your eyes. But when you hit stuff that is going to test you and make you question God and question your faith, that is when the true personality of yourself and the true endurance of your faith is going to show. Okay, the true quality of your faith is shown when your faith is tested through suffering.
It's showing your quality, Captain Thorne.
Don't
It's of
do
the
the stupid
finest
accent,
quality.
please.
There's growing experiences and going through tough times. And as much as we don't like the idea that God lets horrible things happen to people, sometimes he does it and the people press through and come out of it stronger and able to use those horrible experiences to better the lives of other people who have also gone through it.
Classic example, Bruce Wayne. His parents die, becomes Batman, saves Gotham City from destruction.
The cartoon.
Done.
First off, Batman is real. Batman is real.
So
And I see where he's coming from.
Because I don't think God wants us to suffer, but because sin entered the world, there is suffering.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that the world could only come to its proper climax through suffering. As our lives were completely born imperfect, we were born into the world's sin, that only through suffering can we be made anything better. Can we be made more precious?
It's like
Like-
the refining of gold.
Like the
through fire.
refining of gold, right?
Get rid of the impurities.
So then, the climax of Jesus' messianic destiny was like him dying on the cross.
When people completely lose all hope in the face of suffering, what they're doing is putting suffering above everything else. That challenge is so big that nothing else could be bigger than that, and there's no hope. Suffering is not ultimate because suffering is not permanent, because God has a plan that's so much bigger than the situations we face that we can cling on to him, and his plan guides us through the suffering to the point that we know that at the end of all of this, God wins, and one day there will not be any suffering in this world anymore, and all things will be made new. The ultimate proof of that God can get us through it, is that God came down just like us, experienced our struggles, our pain, our suffering, our doubts, and our fears, and he carried it all the way through, even to the point of death. But he rose again. He beat that suffering, and that is the proof that if he could go through it, he can take us through it.
Jesus prayed before this whole,
His betrayal.
before his betrayal, all this happened. But he was knowing it was going to happen. He prayed to God that if it's possible, lift this burden from me, but your will be done, not mine. I don't know about anyone else, but that's always really comforting for me, because it shows me that it's okay to be hurting in suffering. It's okay to not want it, to be confused, to, be like, I really wish I'd be out of it, and sort of come to God and be like, I don't want to be here, God. Like, almost, why are you allowing this?
We have to remember that God's goodness, like the goodness of his character, is never compromised or changed just because our situation changes. Just because we're facing suffering doesn't change who he is, and it doesn't change the standard he sets before us of who he expects us to be. It just puts a challenge in front of us so that we can strive more to be in ourselves what he's like. But the situations never change what God is. It doesn't make him any less good. His goodness is what's going to get you through that. On the cross, when Jesus chose to take the suffering the whole way, it demonstrated his character, and it demonstrated God's character of love and forgiveness and all these things that he showed by dying for people's forgiveness.
So guys, we know from this talk that we do suffer, and people will suffer, but we can take the example of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane when he was going through immense suffering, but he still trusted God's will. He said, "Let your will be done, not mine." And he knew the immense suffering that was going to come, but he knew God's plan was greater than that suffering. And I think we should believe that too, that even though we will suffer and it may seem like a lot to us, that God's will is still greater in that. That truly shows the test of character and the test of our faith, in that we can say, we still trust in you, even though this is happening to us.